And my feel like I think the most pressing thing is all the scams that's going out. You know, a lot of people work so hard to build your wealth and somebody comes by and you see millions of dollars go out the window in seconds. So that's probably the biggest thing. People responding to unsolicited text messages, unsolicited emails, and things of that nature. So probably a scam.
Wow, that's good.
And my field of mental health, I feel like it's trust issues. A lot of us have trust issues and based off of trauma and the things that our community has experienced for generations.
I'll say for medical care, one of the biggest challenges our community faces is equity, lack of access to high quality medical care for various different reasons. We are here in the South, which being rural and living in the country presents a barrier with transportation, lack of resources, as well as lack of insurance and resources to pay for said medical care, which leads us often to ignore the signs and symptoms that we have until it's too late and we don't have a choice.
I think it's fascinating. Two years since you are about trust. You're too trusting, you're not trusting. All right, so our second question is, how has historical and systematic inequity shaped the current landscape of healthcare, mental wellness, and financial literacy in African American communities? One more time. Okay, how has historical and systematic inequality shaped the current landscape of healthcare, mental wellness, and financial literacy in African American communities?
I feel like disparities in our community, like as far as redlining back in the day, there are so many things that have put African Americans behind because of our color, because of people judging us or prejudging us, when actually African American culture has really built this country. And so if it wasn't for us, we wouldn't be where we are today. But people still look at us as if we're the bottom.
Yeah, I would say also the biggest, I think, barrier that a lot of us are behind is lack of home ownership. Because you could use those homes not just own and pass down to your family, but you can take equity out of your homes, you can start businesses, there's tax advantages and things of that nature. And one of the biggest parts of building wealth is ownership. You have to own something, like you can borrow against it and use it strategically, but I think the lack of home ownership as a whole, you will see clusters where like some families, they get it and some don't, but as a whole, we just don't understand the power of it. And now you see like gentrification of homes that we used to own, and now they're going from millions to millions of dollars. So lack of home ownership and knowing the importance of holding that and teaching that to your young people.
I'll second what Tomeco shared in regards to access and equity. Disparities that often have plagued us in the medical field have stemmed from a variety of things. Mistrust, I'm sure we've all heard of the Tuskegee experiment. It's not
person might not be your immediate family member. It could be like someone, cousin. But finding a person that you feel that you can be honest with, because that's the thing. We don't talk to people, we feel like people want justice, but there's somebody you want to feel comfortable with. Try to surround yourself with like-minded people. I'm more comfortable with older people. Like I talk a lot to my older uncles and things of that nature. I just don't. And like she said, some of the stuff that they went through that I'm going through, and then I'm able to share those lessons with younger, cousins and things of that nature. But finding the right person, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, just finding the right person. And everybody's going to need somebody you can talk to, and don't feel like you're going through stuff alone. I was just talking to somebody about something. When you make a mistake, everybody makes mistakes. Don't beat yourself up about it. If somebody else makes a mistake, and just sometimes they offend you, or realize that it might not be another person, it's just a mistake. Being honest with yourself and being honest with others is going to help you. But you need that outlet. Everybody needs somebody who can share things with, because you need that to get through this life.
And what I was going to share is that we're here at our family reunion, and as I look around the room, I see a lot of the older family members of the same family members that come to the family reunion all the time, and I see some of the younger ones, but our middle, our 20s, and our 30s, like some of us grew up going to family reunions, and we have children, and some of our kids don't come to the family reunions. When I grew up, me and my cousins, we're like brothers and sisters. And so I feel like some of we feel as first cousins very close, but our children don't know each other. And they can actually be in the same field doing something of the same caliber, and they can be supporting one another. But not only that, I might not be able to reach them, but their cousin, that's their age, can relate, and they can go through the same thing. And so when you look around and you see a lot of our young 20s are committing suicide or cutting or doing things like that, they've been through a lot with COVID. So I know my son graduated in 2020. They didn't get a prom, they didn't get graduation. They lost a lot. And so when they don't have that connection because they've been in school or in college or high school or middle school at home, they're isolated and they're playing video games and doing all these things. We have family, we have blood that we can be connected to. So I think that it would be good for us to get our children, especially the ones that have been through that COVID era, and they miss so much, to be able to connect with one another, because they can really work together to build up our family and to keep this family reunion and our generation going.
Yes, it's good. So, community, being a communal people is really helpful in each one of these areas. Okay, so our first question for everyone, as an practitioner, what chronic health conditions are most prevalent in African American families, and what preventive strategies should we prioritize?
The top chronic conditions that plague African American families, say it with me, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attack, and so with that, there's a number of things. Genetics, that is something that we cannot control. Family history, right. So there's that component to those chronic conditions, genetics, we cannot control them. But what's important is that we focus on the things that we can, which is being able to have your regular physicals, doing your blood work, having your blood pressure checked. With hypertension and high blood pressure is often called the silent killer, because your
move your body, move your numbers, get those earnings. Thank you very much. Dr. Kelvin, what are some of the major barriers to wealth building in African American families, and how can families overcome that? We touched on that in the whole issue.
I think one of the major barriers is not taking care of your finances and your credit. In this country, credit is how you're going to have to leverage something. If you want to actually build wealth, you're going to have some type of asset, or at least a clean credit profile. So when you go out there, you can even leverage your credit profile to make money off of that alone. So I think some of the major, first of all, comes down to lack of education. You have to educate yourself to realize what opportunities are out there, being around the right people. Using your phones instead of like being on Instagram or whatever, even if you're on Instagram, what sites are you looking at? Who are you following? Because the phone is so powerful, but I think credit is number one. Then with that, you can start to do ownership, you can start to do other things, and the education piece, starting small. I think a lot of times we feel like, oh, we have a couple dollars. What can I do with this? That one small investment, let's say you buy one share of stock for $10. Once you see that stock go from $10 to $20, that's going to inspire you to start doing more and educating yourself. And once you have some skin in the game, you're going to also be inspired to educate yourself. So I think credit, education, and just being curious and think about what am I owning? Am I owning a pair of Nikes or am I owning Nike stock?
Yeah.
Like things of that nature. Things that
We need to talk after you do that.
That's just made another good point too. Life insurance. Very, very important. Because that's how you want to pass down wealth to other people in your family. Me personally, it just bothers me when somebody passes away and I see a little fund. And I see this dude who's out there partying and riding around in the bed and we gotta do a little fund. It's like, that's just a very selfish way of thinking. Think about how can I help? This is what the others do. We want to see why we're behind. This is what the other communities are doing. You know, let me set something up so when I leave here, I always look at it like, you're looking at like, what can my kids do for me? You know, I look at it like, what can I leave my kids? It's not like they're taking care of me. I should be taking care of them. So when I leave here, I leave them in a better place. So life insurance is also very important.
Yeah. So everyone talked about, health conditions and diabetes, hypertension, anxiety, cholesterol, and everything. Now, for mental health, typical things that are plaguing African Americans with mental health, dealing with anxiety, depression, and trauma. So what are some practical strategies and coping tools you recommend for African
remember that our families have come through a lot, and that we're, you know how people say a test is a testimony.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, sometimes we have to go through a testimony so that we can make a testimony. Like I always tell victims, I mean people when I do therapy with them, oh, you're not a victim because we're gonna make you victorious in this situation. So make sure that you, the way you're thinking about your situation,
I have a kid, I want to teach them about managing their money. Do you have any resources? Do you guys have any type of seminars coming up? We have seminars coming up all the time. 2 or 3 people show up because people just don't know that they're out there. So actually, just ask and talk. Whenever you do any type of banking, what do you have other than me doing a transaction? What do you have for my community? How can you guys help me? Do you have anything that can teach me anything? So that's number one. I would say those resources are there. Then once again, just from being at home, on your phone, you have tons of resources. They have things that's catered just to kids. Like if you go on, use ChatGPT. If you don't use AI, ask them what resources are out there. I personally, I like to be on Instagram when I'm trying to learn something. So there's certain people that I follow. I follow young black guys, and some guys called Earn Your Leisure, things of that nature. So I follow people that I like, and they give you advice. I'm talking about you go on in, you watch this show, they'll tell you to invest in this stock, they'll tell you why to do it, and then a year later, you see the stock goes from $1 or whatever. They do the work for you. And I think the key is once you just start tapping in, if you see yourself actually winning, you want to get more and more engaged. But you want to also talk to your kids. You want to find, card games, just like they have Monopoly, they have things like that. They have other games that they have flashcards that teach your kids how to balance a checkbook. Flashcards that teach them what is a debit, what is a credit. So ask around, do your own research, realize nobody's coming to save us. So if you don't open your mouth and ask them like, where I can help you, you're not going to get it. But there's plenty of people who want to help you, who are willing to help you. If you show that you're open to it, and you show that I'm not doing this for myself, I'm actually going to pass these lessons along, people will definitely help you. So just use that very powerful thing in your pocket to really say they have Khan Academy, one thing called Khan Academy. And these things teach you about all different types, not just financial literacy, but anything you need to know, you can find on the internet. So I would start there, I would start at my bank, actually, what resources we have, and just talking to the people around me as well, let them know what you're going through. I met a guy, one of my friends, he played basketball at a high level. And we were out one day, he was like, you ever realize when we get together, he was like, when I'm in the supermarket and I meet like a white person, the first thing to do to ask me is, what do you do? And he was like, at first I was like, why is this guy so nosy? And he was like, we don't really ask each other that. He was like, but this guy's trying to figure out how can we get money together? If I don't know what you do, I don't know if we can work together. Like those type of questions. So now when I meet somebody, one of the first questions I ask them is like, what do you do? And I was talking to someone at a museum today. I'm like, what do you do? He works in compliance too. I walked past him all day. I would have never known he did that. So just talking and being more receptive to putting yourself out there, asking questions, doing your research, and trust me, it's like a snowball effect. You'll find the help if you start down.
Network, talk to people, earn your leisure, volunteer, Khan Academy, KHN Academy, and Beaver, Wall Street Tracker, Wall Street Tracker, those are other commitments. So those are some resources y'all can look those up. Okay, speaking of, how do Black economic and medical disparities contribute to the mental health burden in Black households?
Well, definitely it causes anxiety and stress because when you don't have lot of communities now, they have these community service centers, and in the community service centers, they have not only the mental health, they also have doctors, nurses, they have everything that you need. They also, in the center that I used to work for, we had supportive employment, where we had people that actually taught people how to do their resumes and job coaches that went out in the community to help them out. We also had homeless, we call it a PAL program, where they also help people to not be homeless and take them out to the community to help them find houses, and they had a coach with them. So I believe that more communities had these community centers that was all, collaborative, that those are things that we all could benefit from. And just like my brother said, financial is so needed, because a lot of times people think some of the people that have mental health needs don't have money. But let me tell you, some of them have a lot of money, and some of them have had great careers, and some of them have pensions and things like that. But if they knew how to use those resources, then they could really do a lot, and they wouldn't be needing all the things that are about to be taken away from us.
Yeah.
I really feel like it all goes hand in hand, because lack of resources leads to stress, high blood pressure, hypertension, things of that nature. So I think you have to take a holistic approach to your life and say, okay, hierarchy of needs. First, one of my people that I listen to, a guy named Nipsey Hussle, said, you have to get out of survival mode. If you're in survival mode, you want to do anything to survive. You can't think about, oh, let me go eat an avocado. I haven't eaten all day. I'm eating that fried chicken, even if I get it out of garbage. Get out of survival mode first. By doing that, it starts here. Mental health, educating yourself. Okay, I'm not where I want to be at now, but all these choices that I'm making want to help me get there, or they want to set me back. Because those things, once you get those setbacks, the stress is going to snowball, all the things in, like not sharing. So it all goes together. But the first step is everybody's situation is different. What's most pressing to me? Let me attack the biggest thing that I need to attack just to get to the next level. The biggest thing might not be your biggest actual need, but the biggest thing could be something small, but that small thing is stopping you from getting to the next level. So, as she was saying earlier, not only will you want the doctor to have a plan, try to make a plan for your life. And what are my 5 most pressing things? Let me start with one of them, and that one leads to another. You don't have to really do them all at the same time. You have to trust them.
What I'll say is, 2025 has been very different, but I also believe this leading us to be very reminiscent of some things that we have dealt with culturally for decades. I'm not sure how in tune some of us are. I tend to not look at the news. I read press briefings that apply to my work directly, but in other things. But over the next few years, we haven't been tracking or paying attention. There are lots of laws and things that are going to be enacted and that are being rolled back that are going to impact us in a variety of different ways. Healthcare, finances, housing, you touched on some of them. There's changes that are coming down from this administration with SNAP and our ability to get assistance with food. There's changes that are coming with healthcare insurance. And so one of the things that was beautiful about the 50s and civil rights movements is that our communities were very connected on several different levels. You had churches that hosted healthcare drives. They hosted health fairs to educate us about different things. You had churches and local,
I would say for me the most number one thing is speak life over your family and your kids. And let them know no matter what you go through, like, I just feel like I'm gonna win. Like I don't care how hard the situations get. And you might not win that one, but you'll go through it with a much better life experience. So speak life over your kids, let them know people not going to be a lot of people that will help you, a lot of people that try to hurt you, but you ultimately control how you view this life. And the words that you choose and things of those natures are going to lead you down a certain path. So speak life into your kids and let them know that they're winners.
And I would add to that, and I would say, if you have kids in the school system, know that as a parent, you have a lot of control over what goes on. So, like for me, like when my kids was in school, once I get the roster of who your teachers are, I'm sending the teachers an email, and I'm saying, hi, my name is such and such. Welcome to Diamond's team. You're a part of this team, and you have 7 other team members that we're working with to make sure that my child is successful. So I send that email out to all the teachers the first week of school, so they know I'm an involved parent. I'm going to be monitoring my kids' success, and I'm going to be checking in with you. Because when a teacher knows that you're a parent that's involved, and that you're going to be checking in with them, especially when you have African American children, they can't get away with some of the things they can get away with on certain situations. So you need to make sure that you're involved, you have a presence within the school system. Because let me tell you, I work in the school system, and some of these teachers ain't all the way there. Right? And some of these teachers literally are petty, and they will do negative things to your children. If they see that you're a parent